The loss of a loved one is never easy, but Hospice of the Big Country wants you to know you don't have to go through it alone. Here with us now to tell us more about their programs is Bert Williams. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Stacy.
Bert, you do a lot at Hospice of the Big Country, and one of those things is life after loss. Let's talk about this program and really the history behind it. You've been doing it for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, the idea is just as you say, you know, when you lose a loved one, there's always a certain amount of trying to figure out what am I going to do, how's life going to go. And so what we try to do is to provide a good, safe environment in which people can just relax, who have a similar kind of experience. Every loss is unique, and yet there's a similarity to a loss. So we just kind of sit down and think together about, okay, what kinds of things do we typically expect? And some in the group say, well, this has worked for me, maybe it'll work for you. And we just kind of help each other and kind of become family.
And I think this might confuse some people, but it's not just someone who's used Hospice of the Big Country. This is community-wide. Anyone can come to this program, correct?
That's exactly right. It's for anyone who has suffered a loss of a loved one or any other traumatic kind of loss, but particularly the loss of a loved one.
And you know, the holidays just kind of wrapped up, and people still might be kind of feeling that loss. Why do you think now is a good time for someone to maybe get connected with other people who are going through the same thing?
Well, you're right. The holiday season is typically a time that's more difficult for others, and especially for people who've had a loss, and especially for those who have experienced the first holiday season after the death of a loved one. And so it just gives, again, a safe environment, an accepting environment in which people can find encouragement that there is hope and there is somewhere down the way it's going to get better.
And I know we talked about this before, but when do you suggest someone reach out to get this help? I mean, some people may have had someone they just lost a couple months ago, but you suggest maybe a different timeline for that.
I do, Stacy, because it seems like there's so much to deal with right after you lose a loved one. You got the funeral to deal with, and then all that paperwork that comes in and all of that, and you're just kind of in a fog anyway. And so we think that generally speaking, around 3 months after the death is probably the best time to, or probably the optimum time to begin, and then you can work with it after that. We have people come who have had a loss years ago, and many of our people who come back again because you can only take in so much at a time. And so for people who come back second, third times, we think that's very healthy, and a lot of our folks do that.
And what are you seeing from people who have been through this course? You've been doing it for 6 or 7 years. What has been kind of the outcome for these people who are coming back and getting that support they might need?
Almost always it is a matter that some will just say, it just saved my life. And I think that's an honest statement. It perhaps is a little bit out there just for most people, but almost without exception, people say, this has been tremendously helpful to know I'm not weird, strange, because I feel this. And it helps to know that there are other people whose experiences are really quite similar, and we get a lot of good tips and encouragement on this will work and that might work, and everyone has to apply it for themselves.
How often do you do these life after loss classes throughout the year?
We do them about every, I'll do this one in February, and then we'll do another in April, so it's about that sequencing, about every 3 months.
How many classes do you do in a session, or is it just a one-time thing?
No, it's five sessions, an hour and a half per session, and it's for 5 consecutive weeks.
And do we need to RSVP for this, or how does someone get more information to come out to this class?
They can call our main number at Hospice, 793-5450, and just come on in if they need more information, or just show up on this coming Monday morning at 10 o'clock.
And obviously this is the rehab center, so this doesn't cost anything for people to show up, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. We're glad to get to do that.
And once again, tell us when the next class starts and who's invited to it.
Okay. Any and everyone who's had a loss is invited. We begin this coming Monday.
Okay.
And it'll be each Monday thereafter. It's from 10 o'clock to 11:30 for those consecutive weeks.
All right, Bert, we appreciate you coming on and helping our residents in the community who definitely need it. So if you would like